Armbruster, and she is a representative from Gladwin Financial, and she has requested that she be allowed to be an approved vendor with and for our staff and faculty. She has reached the magic number of having 8 clients within the system, and I would recommend that she be allowed to be an approved vendor.
Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
All right. Trevor has moved that we approve Thrivent Financial 403B for our system. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Kelly, did you second?
Yes.
Okay. All right, Trevor has moved and Kelly has seconded that we approve Thrivent Financial for the Gladwin Community Schools. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, next on the agenda is the resolution to approve 2 candidates for the RESD election. And I have to do a resolution, correct? Yes. All right.
All you have to do is vote on who you're going to vote for, and then the resolution will come into play.
Okay. Anybody, okay, we need a motion for the Gladwin representative. I will move that we approve Carol Darlington as the Gladwin representative for the board on the RESD. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, I have moved and Trevor has seconded my motion to approve Carol Darlington. Is there any discussion?
Yes, so we only approving Martin
Or
Gladwin.
do we leave them separate? You want to do them?
Okay.
So we're gonna do them separately.
Okay. I was just wondering, 'cause I know we got 2,
Yeah.
and 2 favorites and favor.
Right, is there any further questions or discussion? Okay.
Something with all this.
Go right ahead.
So if I, for example, said, well, I would like to support Sarah, then I would basically vote no on your.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. All right, all those in favor of approving, the motion as presented signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, signify by saying nay.
Okay.
Okay. You also said nay.
I did.
All right, so there were 2 nays. So 5 yeses and 2 noes. All right. Is there any other motion for the Gladwin representatives?
I make the motion
You have to call this motion first.
I did. It's approved, yes. Then it's approved, then it's over. Okay. Right. This is easy. All right, then we'll move on to the Beaverton representative. Is there a motion to approve a Beaverton representative?
I move to approve Joe Sprague.
All right, Linda has moved to approve Joe Sprague. Is there a second? I will second that motion. All right, it's been moved by Linda and seconded by myself to approve Joe Sprague as the Beaverton representative. Is there any discussion? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, Mr. Sprague is approved. Then, okay. The next is the resolution to approve a board member and alternate to vote in the RESD election. And I have to read this resolution. Be it resolved that this board does hereby approve the designation of Lisa Schwager as the representative of this board for the electoral body, which body will elect 2 candidates to the vacancy on the Claire Gladwin RESD board on Monday, June 3rd, 2013, and Sally Hightower as the alternate representative in the event the designated representative is unable to attend. Is there a second? second to my resolution? Oh, I got it, okay. Okay, the designated representative or the alternate representative in the event of the absence of the designated representative is further directed to cast a vote on the first ballot on behalf of this board for Carol Darlington and Joseph Sprague. Is there a second to that resolution?
Second.
Right? I have resolved, and Linda Winarski has seconded. Is there any further discussion? All right, Mr. Secretary, would you call the roll?
Trevor Gravel,
Yes.
Kelly Gower, Eric Dion,
Yes.
Linda Winarski,
Yes.
Lisa Schwager,
Yes.
Brad Whitrow, yes, Sally Hightower.
Yes. All right. The resolution is complete. Carol? Okay, next is set the millage rate. Would you like to speak to that?
I'll have Julie fill you in.
All
Julie, go
right.
ahead and bring us up to speed on it.
It's time to kick off taxes again. In July 2013, it's time to set the millage rate, on non-homestead property. The millage rate will once again be at 18 mils. And the debt millage rate, this year, we're going to reduce it just a tad. It will be 2.1. Last year it was 2.14. So I would ask that you would approve those rates so we can have some bills come due.
All right, is there a motion to approve the millage rate as described by Mrs. Shear?
I'll make that motion.
All right, Kelly moves that we accept the millage rate as described by Mrs. Shear. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Trevor seconds. Is there any further discussion? Excuse me. All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next is to set the date for the public hearing on the 2013-2014 budget. And probably June 10th, correct? I believe we talked about that. June 10th would be the next regular board meeting. And adoption, possible adoption at the 24th meeting. So, do I have a motion to accept those two dates, June 10th and June 14th as the public, 24th, excuse me, as the public hearing on the budgets.
I'll make a motion to accept those dates.
All right, Trevor has moved that we accept those dates, June 10th and June 24th. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, there's a second by Kelly. Is there any further discussion on those dates? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? I know you don't wanna come, but come on. All right, motion carries.
Sal, she needs the time.
Time. Regular, we have to do it before we have to do it before.
6:30, 7 p.m.
7 o'clock, okay? All right, 7 o'clock. Yeah, that's right, we can't do it during the regular one. All right, equipment bids. Would you like to speak to that?
We had up for bid the steam kettle, the old steam kettle pot, and we took steel bids on those. We have the results in front of you, so we just need approval to go ahead and move the steam kettle out of the garage and into the truck with the person who's involved.
All right, there's a motion, you need a motion. Dan Van Est has, bid $226 for the steam kettle. So I would need a motion to approve to accept that bid.
I'll make a motion to accept the bid, Dan.
All right, Eric has moved that we accept Mr. Van Ness's bid. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, Kelly seconds. Is there any further discussion on the steam kettle?
There was what, one other bid? And
One
what
other
was
bid.
that?
$20
Okay.
from Mr. Dan Welke. Okay? All right, all those in favor of signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, Mr. Van Ness will have an old new steam kettle. All right, next is the COPS grant funding. Who's going to speak to that, I'm assuming?
We've been working on a very short timeline with the city and the city police department on the possibility of pursuing a grant for a school liaison officer. We had one of these grants many years ago. In fact, before I became the superintendent, we had a COPS grant that allowed us to be partially funded for a school liaison officer. The grant timelines are short, and what the city needs from us to pursue the grant is a motion and approval from the board to allocate the funding necessary to put in place the school liaison officer should the grant be approved. It's important to note that by allocating the funds now, if our budget can't support those funds and we do get the grant, we do have the opportunity to back out of the grant. So as we move through the budgeting process, because so much is unknown right now, it's very difficult for us to allocate funds without knowing what our funding will be. So the timeline for the grant being so short, we would miss the window for the grant if we waited to know what our budget might look like. So what I'm asking you to do is allocate the funds conditional upon our budget being able to support that.
What kind of funds are we talking?
Over the course of the entire grant, right around years 1, 2, and 3 would be around $25,000 each year, and then the fourth year we have to pay the entire cost of the police officer, so it would be right around $80,000. So, again, if the budget doesn't support it, we don't have to move forward, but if we don't support it now, we just can't apply with the city as a partner for the grant.
Does it look like we're gonna be able to do
I don't know yet. The state hasn't released the school aid package yet, so without knowing what the state's funding will be for the schools, I can't answer that we will or we won't have the money for this should we get approved for the grant.
But we can back out of this if we want to.
Exactly. If it turns out we don't have the money, we just don't have to accept it and move
Does
forward.
that work for any year, or is that just, I mean,
No, that
are
works
we all
just-
in for those 4 years, or are we
Once-
just one?
Yep, once we approve it officially and get the grant, and then actually have a board meeting where we pass putting it in place, we're on for 4 years.
So if we get to that 4th year and we realize we can't move it forward, then it's too bad.
We're out of luck. Well, not necessarily. The city would be more than happy, more than willing to work with us within the parameters that their budget would allow, and we've done that in the past. But we would have to assume moving forward that we would be on the hook for the full amount if we did move forward.
And what does that person do for us?
Well, the school liaison officer, so they would work within the school, with the kids, with the staff, making that connection between the local police departments and the school system.
How's that working in the past?
I wasn't here.
It went very well. Officer Boylan was the liaison officer, and he was known throughout the buildings, and there was a really good working relationship. And,
Buddy Boylan?
yes, that's why, it's Officer Boylan. And I think it went very well, and I think it actually headed off a few things that could have turned into major problems.
So then they're required to be there so many hours a day, or how do that?
It all gets worked out once you put it into place. We're not there yet. You know, this is just applying for the grant. All of the details to be worked out, all of the funding to be worked out. If it all comes together and we choose to move forward, we can, or if we choose to not move forward, we don't have to. This just gets us in the door so that we can apply for the grant.
Right, I will entertain a motion on the COPS grant funding.
I'll make the motion.
Right, Kelly has moved that we accept to move forward. Is that your motion?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, Kelly has moved that we accept moving forward with the COPS grant discussion, or is there any further questions? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the motion carries. We have one more item on the agenda on other, and I resolve that we go into closed session again. And, is there a second to my resolution?
So let's back up a little bit. The purpose for the closed session is that Attorney Greg Meyer is here, and we are working on a proposed settlement agreement with some employee litigation that we have been working on. We do have a letter from Mr. Meyer requesting that we do meet with him in closed session to discuss the litigation and the possible settlement.